Folks, Black Star Network is here.
Oh, no punches!
I'm real revolutionary right now.
Support this man, Black Media. He makes sure that our stories are told.
Thank you for being the voice of Black America, Roland.
Stay black. I love y'all.
All momentum we have now, we have to keep this going.
The video looks phenomenal.
See, there's a difference between Black Star Network and Black-owned media and something like CNN.
You can't be Black-owned media and be scared.
It's time to be smart.
Bring your eyeballs home.
You dig? Today is Friday, September 6, 2024. Coming up on Roland Martin Unfiltered, streaming live on the Black Star Network. Republican state lawmakers in Louisiana have launched an investigation into the New Orleans district attorney over concerns he's abusing his power by making use of criminal justice reform policies intended to address prosecutorial and police misconduct. Orleans Parish DA Jason Williams be here to talk about it. Hundreds of Delaware voters have been told they're ineligible to vote after a clerical error. We'll talk to two activists about the Delaware Department of Elections admitting about 750 voters had incorrect party affiliations due to a DMV glitch. Donald Trump's sentencing for in New York is going to get pushed back after the election. Also, folks are calling it an incoherent word salad. Wait till you hear what Trump had to say about childcare in America. Totally confused. Also, more political ads being dropped. We'll show you what some of those are saying. Pretty damn good ones. Plus, Georgia's mass shooting suspect and his father face a judge today to hear the charges against him. And former Congressman Freddy Jackson Jr. is trying to get a pardon from President Joe Biden. It's time to bring the funk. I'm Roland Martin Unfiltered on the Black Star Network. Let's go.
He's got it. Whatever the miss, he's on it. Whatever it is, he's got the scoop, the fact, the find. And when it breaks, he's right on time and it's rolling. Best believe he's knowing. Putting it down from sports to news to politics. With entertainment just for kicks, he's rolling. It's on go, roll, y'all. It's Roland Martin, rolling with Roland now. He's funk, he's fresh, he's real, the best, you know he's Roland Martin now.
How many times have I told you when Republicans do something in one state, you see it popping up in another? That's what's happening in Louisiana, following what Ron DeSantis did in Florida by going after progressive district attorneys. That's what Louisiana Republicans are doing. Members of a Louisiana Senate committee have questioned Orleans Parish DA Jason Williams over the work of a civil rights division that Williams says helps restore trust in a long-troubled New Orleans justice system. Republican lawmakers criticized Williams over the motives and reasoning behind the moves by his office to back the release of many long-serving prisoners. Joining us now from New Orleans is DA Jason Williams. Glad to have you here. So I'm trying to understand what the problem is. So explain to us why Republicans are complaining about this office.
You know, I wish I could explain what was going on in their heads. New Orleans has been known for injustice for quite some time. That's not a new news story. And I'm simply trying to clean up our reputation as it relates to constitutionality and equal justice under the law for everyone, right? So the fact that we have worked really hard to bring crime down in the city of New Orleans, and we have faster than any other city in the country. And we're also reckoning with the sins of the past. And some octogenarians have come home, some for crimes they didn't commit, some for crimes where there was cheating within their trial. I don't understand why it seems like once we get one step forward, there needs to be 100 steps backwards. So I can't explain what Republicans are thinking.
So what exactly does the office do?
So I created a civil rights division to reckon with the sins of the past. We have been in the city of New Orleans an outlier for decades. We have been the prison capital of the world, the wrongful conviction capital of the world, the exoneration rate of the world, and we have had the highest crime rates at the same time during those particular decades. And this civil rights division is simply looking at cases to see if a police officer cheated, if a prior prosecutor cheated, to make sure people had a fair trial. And there's defense attorneys that have filed motions. Those motions are held in open court. We're simply allowing for there to be a place for review of these defective convictions.
So this sounds very similar to what the late Craig Watkins did in Dallas with his integrity unit that looked at old cases, that tested DNA, and there were people who were actually exonerated. Facts are facts. We know reality that previous DAs have cut corners and have put people in prison by withholding evidence, by not properly testing. Those things have actually happened. So what it sounds to me like you're saying is we want to make sure that we got it right. And if we got it wrong, then those folks should not be sitting in a prison and then they later sue the city or sue the state as a result of a wrongful prosecution.
You hit the nail right on the head. And, I know Craig Watkins. I studied his work. We're using some of his playbook. I don't know how this became a partisan issue. If an innocent person is in jail, that means the person who actually committed the crime has been left in community. I would think R's and D's, black and white, old and young, I would think everybody could support that effort. Clearly, that's not the case.
Well, I'll tell you, because when you have these Republicans, their motive is very simple, to say that, and I'm sure they probably called you a Soros-backed DA. That's the language they use for any, non-conservative, hardcore, lock-em-up DA. This is what they do. This is how they complain. And they think that anybody is soft on crime if they are trying to, frankly, do right.
Yeah, fairness does not seem like that should be something that we would want to fight about. I've said it during the campaign. I've said it during my tenure. Criminal justice reform and public safety are not antithetical. In fact, they're two sides of the very same coin, and you cannot have one without the other, because I need people in community to come to court and testify when someone has committed a crime. But when they don't believe in me and they don't believe in this system, they choose not to participate, which means the bad guys get away. And so we've got to understand that if we make everything a partisan fight, we're never truly going to achieve what we want, which is a peaceful, safe place to live.
But this is also why I say these people are not really pro-life, because there have been individuals that have spent 20, 30, 40 years on death row. People who came close to death. I'm from Texas. I remember the Clarence Brantley case very well. That man came close 2 or 3 times being put to death, and he didn't commit the crime. And so I would think anybody would want to say, no, let's absolutely make positively sure if this individual did it. They just automatically assume, hey, never review it. And look, you've got the case in Missouri where the district attorney, Wesley Bell's office, has said there are issues with this here. And the judge has said, release this man. The Republicans in the state said, no, he got to stay in prison.
The thing that gets lost in this argument, and I hope there'll be some sober minds at the Capitol that will actually be honest about the fact that we have been ground zero for mass incarceration, and that is is absolutely an outgrowth of Jim Crow and an outgrowth of chattel slavery. But we found in my very first year, there was a man by the name of Jermaine Hudson. We were reviewing his case because he was convicted with a non-unanimous jury. We Republicans and Democrats across the board said we need to come in line with the modern era. We need all 12 jurors to agree. We did that. And so we began reviewing the non-unanimous jury cases. And this individual, Jermaine Hudson, spent 22 years in jail and was about to plead guilty to a lesser crime to come home to his grown son. And the purported victim in his case called us from an inpatient facility to say that the crime never occurred. He actually lied about the crime occurring, but heard there was a DA that was willing to look, willing to check, and he came forward. He had come forward in the past and had been sent away from other DA's offices of my predecessors who ignored him. But this man was about to plead guilty to a crime he didn't commit, to a crime that never even occurred. And that's just how real it is. Just when you talk about somebody coming close to death or someone willing to plead guilty to something they did not do just to see their son.
Right. And that's the thing right there that a lot of people don't quite understand. When you look at a criminal justice system, and we have seen and heard this all across the country, when they get presented with an option, somebody says, man, listen, if I got to plead to get 5 years, and these people are telling me they're going to put me away for 30, I'll go ahead and plead. I mean, we know of cases like this where the individual didn't do it, but they're making a determination saying, I can't get a break with this system, so I got to go ahead and plead. And then what happens is when the person didn't do it, what you're now dealing with, you're dealing with largely Republican lawmakers who will come back and say, hey, what's the problem? He pled. Well, there's a reason why he pled. They act like that stuff doesn't exist, like, oh, that's just television.
And the other thing is we could hit this from two different angles. There's a moral imperative here, but there's also a fiscal imperative here. We are spending money taking care of men and women who should not be in jail, who could be taking care of their own families, who could be gainfully employed. This is debilitating the ability to invest in people to get better outcomes. Frederick Douglass said it a long time ago, we still refuse to hear it. It is easier and better to build strong boys and girls than to try to repair broken men and women. But a broken system is breaking people on purpose.
Well, and the thing for me is, do these people not realize what state they're in? We're talking about Louisiana is the mass incarceration capital of America.
Which means the mass incarceration capital of the world. Yeah. Because America incarcerates more people than any other place. And
so they also act like there haven't been people wrongfully prosecuted and imprisoned in Louisiana.
You know, and the thing that they want to try to label someone who cares about fairness as being soft on crime. I might be one of the only DAs in the country that's actually in court trying murder cases because I'm a litigator. But they're ignoring the number of cases in which we're going after the most violent offenders because they want to play this sort of partisan politics. This whole this Dirty Harry sense of go ahead, punk, make my day, cut corners, and go after the bad guy. That might be nice for Hollywood. Might be nice for a movie, but that's how innocent people go to jail, and that's how cities go bankrupt, paying off lawsuits when the truth comes out.
Well, absolutely. And so I would hope that these folks, actually, and here's my last one. This is what I don't understand. Weren't you elected?
By almost 60% of the vote, and I promised I would do this when I ran.
So you were elected by the citizens of New Orleans.
Correct.
But you've got individuals who are not elected by the citizens of New Orleans trying to tell the duly elected representative in New Orleans how to do his job. Are you questioning how they do their job in other parts of Louisiana?
You know, to my knowledge, it's the first time that a prosecutor, a duly elected prosecutor by the entire parish was brought before a Senate committee to be questioned about their policies and practices. My predecessor used the multiple bill, the habitual offender law, the 3 strikes and you're out. He used it almost 2,700 times in 1 year, when the next largest parish used it about 10 times, right? There was no questions when he was misusing the habitual offender law on folks for a couple of joints, for a chump amount of dope, for stealing an umbrella off someone's porch while it was raining. He was never questioned about his discretion when he was operating this way for nearly 14 years. But I have been questioned.
Oh, so he wasn't questioned, but you're being questioned.
Yeah.
Also, I take it that DA wasn't black.
He was not.
I figured that. All right, keep us abreast of what happens down there.
Thank you, Roland. It's good to see you, man.
Yes, sir. I appreciate it. Thanks a bunch. Good luck. Folks, got to go to a break. We come back. I know my panel can't wait to weigh in on this, especially since I got two attorneys on the panel. You're watching Roland Martin Unfiltered right here on the Black Star Network. Matt's already shaking his head, licking his chops. He like, ooh, yeah. And I know Jolanda damn well, she got something to say. I'm going to have to go to her last, all the stuff she got to say. We'll be right back on the Black Star Network.
Next on the Black Table with me, Greg Carr. There's a lot of talk about the inevitability of another civil war in this country. But on our next show, we'll talk to a noted author and scholar who says we're actually in the middle of one right now. In fact, Steve Phillips says the first one that started back in 1861, well, it never ended.
People carrying the Confederate flag, wearing sweatshirts saying MAGA Civil War, January 6, 2021, stormed the U.S. Capitol, hunted down the country's elected officials, built a gallows for the Vice President of the United States, and to block the peaceful transfer of power within this country.
On the next Black Table, here on the Black Star Network.
On a next, A Balanced Life with me, Dr. Jackie, we're going to be talking about common sense. We think that people have it, know how to use it, but it is something that people often have to learn. The truth is, most of us are not born with it, and we need to teach common sense, embrace it, and give it to those who need it most, our kids.
So I always tell the teachers to listen out to what conversations the students are having about what they're getting from social media, and then let's get ahead of it and have the appropriate conversations with them.
On a next, A Balanced Life with me, Dr. Jackie, here at Black Star Network.
Hello, I'm Jamia Pugh. I am from Coatesville, Pennsylvania, just an hour right outside of Philadelphia.
My name is Jasmine Pugh. I'm also from Coatesville, Pennsylvania.
You are watching Roland Martin Unfiltered. Stay right here.
All right, folks, let's get into it with our panel. Matt Manning, civil rights attorney out of Corpus Christi, Texas. Jelana Jones, Texas State Representative, lawyer out of Houston, and Michael Imhotep, host, African History Network show out of Detroit. All right, Matt, you have been waiting to weigh in. Go.
Well, look, I think you hit the nail on the head at the beginning. This is a part of the Republican playbook. And I'm glad you asked him about him being duly elected, because as I've said on the show many times, I represented our local DA for whom I had worked previously in actions to remove him. And all of this is political. None of it is really, truthful, obviously, and it's all ideological, but it's ideologically responsive. And I'm glad that he said that, nobody had a problem with this until the terms changed and soft on crime became synonymous with fairness. And I'm really glad that he said that, because at the same time that you see this, you see the intellectual dishonesty from primarily Republicans when they talk about the criminal justice system as it relates to Mr. Trump, right? So you can't talk out of both sides of your head. And what infuriates me about this is that this is what a DA's office should be doing. This is the task of the DA. In fact, in Texas, under the Code of Criminal Procedure, Article 2.01 says a district attorney's job is to seek justice. So this is an extension of that. If you are reviewing old cases and determining that prosecutors either cheated or outright lied, or there was some kind of malfeasance with the case. And I think that this becomes a big issue, because as much as people talk about wanting public safety and wanting to live in a safe community, When you disempower the DA's office to do the job that he or she is duly elected to do, then what you do is embolden their political opponents to decide to come at them and hamstring them whenever that's politically expedient. And we can't allow that as a society. Once you're elected, you're duly elected, you should be able to serve, particularly when one of the tasks that you have, the overriding task, is to seek justice. And here, the extension of that is to look at situations where experts, which is what Mr. Williams and the people in his office are, have determined that there was some impropriety that took place in the case. What should happen is a revisiting of that. So anyone who's opposed to this is intellectually dishonest, and it's about politics and nothing else. But I do think there needs to be a stronger institutional response from prosecutors groups like Fair and Just Prosecution and other organizations that empower, quote, progressive prosecutors, because if they don't have an institutional response, then the DA I represent, or the former DA, and others like him, and others like Kim Gardner, will be in this situation continuously, and we can't allow that as citizens.
Jolanda, let's just be clear. Republicans, they only want to see hardcore right-wing, lock-em-up prosecutors. They think that those prosecutors are perfect. Nothing is wrong with their cases. These Republicans have no problem when DAs cross the line. They have no problem when these DAs withhold evidence. And when you look at cases, and if all y'all people out there who love talking about, oh, you just being a shield for the Democrats, you just sitting here just speaking up for the Democrats, if you show me, I dare say, in the last 40 years, when you have a case where you have circumstantial evidence, or where you have folks relying on an eyewitness, or when you have questions regarding DNA, I will dare say 9.99 out of 10, you're going to have Democratic DAs or Democratic elected officials saying, let's stand up and get this thing right. And you're going to have Republicans, 10 out of 10, saying, damn that, it's good, move on. In fact, that was a Supreme Court ruling, I think it was Antonin Scalia, who literally said, even if that person is innocent, if they have exhausted all of their appeals and everything was done right, sorry. That's how crazy conservatives are on these type of issues, Yolanda.
Yeah, so you're right. And I know that DA Williams said something like, I hope there's sober minds in the Capitol. Well, there aren't going to be. They're in Louisiana, let's face that. And here's what I see. And part of my law practice is criminal defense. And when I tell you that they hide evidence, and you are more likely to see under Democratic DAs, at least they'll allow us to go into that, and we have the opportunity to get rid of the prosecutors or strike evidence. And you didn't see that before. So I've been practicing law for 29 years. It's definitely different now. But what they do is they change the rules when Black folks get in positions of power. Even say, for example, where they're now doing the Grand Inquisition over DA Williams to ask him how he does things, the DA's greatest tool is discretion. And it's normally not challenged. I'm going to say that one more again. The greatest tool is discretion. You'll see a little white kid do something, and they like literally committed a crime. The DA has the discretion to say, well, I'm going to lock this kid up, or maybe I give them a scolding and I take them back to their parents and I say, hey, right? So they basically been scared straight. But DAs want to err on the side of locking us up. Here in Texas, for example, we had a whole bunch of Black judges take office. Now they've gone and they've changed. The rules for what qualifies you to be a judge have been the same for 40 years. Once a whole bunch of Black people got on the bench, they changed it and now have said, rather than having to practice law for 4 years, now you've got to practice for 8 years. And when we go back to session in January, they want to now make you board certified. So they're trying to make it more difficult for Black people to be able to be in these positions.
Also first of all, you got to keep in mind, it used to be the system in the United States, I think it was in South Carolina, where you didn't need to go to law school to be a lawyer.
And that's true as well.
They literally, and when a black man became a lawyer, oh, hell no, we got to change the rules.
Oh, because that's what they do, right? That's just what they do. And so what's really scary is most of the laws for appeals, for whether you get a chance to go back to court or whether you exhaust your appeals, err in favor of believing whatever happened, even if it's unfair, right? Even if somebody hid evidence from you, they're saying you should have known about it. So it makes it very difficult. It's extremely courageous and extremely different that we now have DAs that have conviction integrity units, because there are a whole bunch of non-guilt innocent reasons why people will plead guilty. You mentioned some of them at the beginning. I literally just had a case last year where I was ready to go to trial. No lawyer can promise a result, but I thought this was about as good a case as I could have had, and I expected to get an acquittal. So I prepared my client. We prepared the night before and the weekend before. We talked to the witnesses, and we were ready to go. The system is so unfair here that by the time we got to court the next morning, the mama had convinced the girl not to go to trial. She was like, the system is set up against you. And I was begging my client, please, 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 can we go to trial? I can't promise you a result. And she wanted to do a PTI instead of going to trial because her mother convinced her, you're not going to get a fair shot, despite my skill. So that happens all the time. And it's sad because once you plead guilty, for the most part, you're stuck with it for life.
So for all you maggots who are watching and y'all think that I'm lying, here's Matthew Perry, that brother in South Carolina I was telling y'all about. Watch this.
And up until this time, South Carolina had a practice by which, well, it was known as the diploma privilege. If you had graduated from a law school in South Carolina, you didn't have to take the state bar examination. You were admitted under what became popularly known as the diploma privilege. Now, when the law school at South Carolina State was created, the officials decided, well, look, we've got to do something about this diploma privilege. And so they persuaded the legislature to enact a law requiring the passing of the bar examination by all law school graduates. And so I tell young people, anybody who has graduated since 1951, that if you had to take the bar examination, you can, of course, blame me. And up until...
There you go. Oh, and also for all you idiots, y'all saw what happens when you play a video from Twitter, how it jumps to the next video you don't know? Yeah, dumbasses. Michael, go to you. What they're doing there in Louisiana, this is what white Republicans do when black people get in power or when it's progressive. This is what they do. And they always talk about local control, local control. No, they only want local control when they are the ones who are in power.
Yeah, Roland, but it goes even beyond that. This is what white supremacists do when they are in power, regardless of political party. When in preparation for this segment, I read this piece from Fox 8 Live, and in reading it and watching I watched a segment where they had District Attorney Williams talking about the resentencing, and it sounded like this was going back to the 1898 Louisiana State Constitution. And on page 2 of this article, it talked about how several of the resentencing cases included the alleged misuse of a U.S. Supreme Court case on non-unanimous juries. And I've talked about this on this show before because in 1898, Louisiana rewrote their state constitution, and they imposed a 9-3 non-unanimous jury for felony convictions, and that was designed to target African Americans, to nullify any African Americans on a jury. So if you got convicted of a felony and it was 9 white people who said you did it and 3 black people who said you didn't, you were guilty. Okay. And when he talked about you have octogenarians, you have people in their 80s that have been unjustly imprisoned, things like this. That goes back to understanding the devastation that Louisiana State Constitution did. Decades later, it changed to 10-2. It wasn't until 2018 that it was changed to a unanimous conviction, and that's because it was put on the ballot. So this is understanding the impact of law. Okay, this is understanding the impact of policy. And the people who put this nonsense out here and say, oh, you're shilling for the Democrats, and I get that also. And I shut them down with facts and evidence because they don't understand history. They haven't read any of these state constitutions. They don't understand what happened after Reconstruction collapsed in 1877. We are dealing with the consequences of these state constitutions, and you still have these policies today. Everything they do to us, they use the law to do it, and then when they get caught breaking the law, they go hire an attorney at law to defend them in the court of law. So we must understand the law better than they understand the law, so we don't keep getting caught up in this system like that.
Absolutely. Folks, hold tight 1 second. Got to go to a break. We come back. Dick Cheney endorses Vice President Kamala Harris after his daughter Liz Cheney endorsed her? Man, what the hell? And we got some new political ads for you as well. Y'all, lots to talk about. Don't forget, support the Roland Martin Unfiltered, the Black Star Network. Now, we are still having an issue with Cash App. Y'all, we dealing with it. I know, it's driving me crazy. It's absolutely driving me out of my mind in dealing with them. And so we're trying to get it rectified. And so we are, again, having the conversations with them. It is not, we haven't got it taken care of yet. So I want y'all to do this here. If you want to give via Cash App, again, we're trying to get this thing straight. So let me go ahead and show y'all this here. I'm only doing this for y'all because, again, we probably had about 50 or 60 people who have been trying to give. And so I'm trying to pull this thing up. Where is it? I'm going to give y'all an option. Give me 1 second. Okay, this didn't go through. I'm going to do it again. Let's see here. Let me try to send it right now. Hold on. Go ahead and pull it. Go ahead and pull up the how people can give. PayPal is, first of all, P.O. Box 57196, Washington, D.C. 20037-0196. Cash App is PayPal R Martin Unfiltered, Venmo is RM Unfiltered, Zelle, Roland at RolandSMartin.com, Roland at RolandMartinUnfiltered.com, and the backup, folks, the backup there, if you want to give. This is our backup, okay? We never give this out, but this is, so it's, go to it. It's $ Uncle Roro Martin. That's the backup. That's the QR code right there as well. $ Uncle Roro Martin until Cash App gets it straight with our Roland Martin Unfiltered account. For some reason, it limits numbers of transactions. We don't know why. This is just all new. So you can give to us via Cash App right here, $ Uncle Roro Martin. And as y'all know, everybody who gives to us via Cash App, PayPal, Venmo, and Zelle during the show, I give y'all a shout out. And so y'all can go ahead and do that. And again, somebody in the chat said by mail. Yes, there are people who literally send us checks and emails, and it all cash is the same. All right, I'll be back in a moment.
Hatred on the streets, a horrific scene, a white nationalist rally that descended into deadly violence.
White people are losing their damn minds.
As an angry pro-Trump mob storms the U.S. Capitol, we've seen
We're about to see the rise of what I call white minority resistance. We have seen white folks in this country who simply cannot tolerate black folks voting.
I think what we're seeing is the inevitable result of violent denial.
This is part of American history. Every time that people of color have made progress, whether real or symbolic, there has been what Carol Anderson at Emory University calls white rage as a backlash.
This is the rise of the Proud Boys and the Boogaloo Boys. America, there's going to be more of this.
Here's all the Proud Boys, guys.
This country is getting increasingly racist in its behaviors and its attitudes because of the fear of white people.
The fear that they're taking our jobs, they're taking our resources, they're taking our women. This is white fear.
Mitchell, a news anchor at Fox 5 DC.
Hey, what's up? It's Tammy Roman, and you are watching Roland Martin Unfiltered.
All right, y'all. The Delaware Department of Elections admitted that state officials put hundreds of voters who had registered in the past year through an automatic voter registration system into the wrong political party. The error impacted about 750 registered voters and has caused a surge of criticism, particularly in Wilmington, Delaware. Joining us now is Alicia Clark, the founder of Delaware Faith in Action Network, and Dr. Marlene Saunders, the chair of the Connection and Social Action Committee. Glad to have both of you here. So, Alicia, what the heck happened?
So we're still trying to figure it out, Roland, but what we know is that we're in the beginning of the early election process, and our primary is September the 10th. Delaware has a closed primary, so you have to be affiliated with a party in order to vote. There are a number of individuals who have attempted to vote and have been turned away because their party affiliation was marked as unaffiliated. So it's causing a great deal of concern on our part. We're a relatively small state, and we know that turnout for primaries is often low anyway. So 750 people being unaffiliated and their parties not being correctly noted on their registration cards is a major problem here. We've been in contact with the ACLU, we've been in contact with the Department of Elections, and there's not a sense of urgency in terms of really addressing this that meets our satisfaction. So we're sort of, putting an action plan in place to try and connect with as many people as we can to troubleshoot, but there absolutely must be more accountability and action taken from the Department of Collections to fix this problem. How it started, Roland, is last year the DMV implemented this new voting program, which is a great idea for people to be able to register at the DMV when they're there for their license and other matters. But it's a complicated process, and if you don't identify when you're registering or take the next step to identify your party affiliation, it puts you on the rolls as unaffiliated, which then eliminates you from being able to vote in the primary. The other thing that we're finding out, and I'll let Dr. Saunders speak a little bit more to this because I'm upstate, she's downstate. The other thing we're finding out is in some instances, people were registered Democrats, but they're showing up on the rolls as unaffiliated. And in some instances, people were registered Democrats and they're showing up on the rolls as Republican. So there's a lot of inconsistencies here in terms of what's happening, and the Department of Elections has not been proactive.
Marlene, at that particular point, again, what some people don't realize, look, I'm from Texas, and you can pick which primary you want to vote in, but when you've closed primaries, this is a big deal, and these votes can make the difference between somebody winning or losing in their primary.
That is absolutely correct. And before I make another comment, I would be remiss if I just didn't clarify my title as chair of the Connection and Social Action Committee. That's part of Alpha Kappa Alpha Sorority Incorporated, of which I am a member. And I belong to the chapter in Georgetown, Delaware. So
gotcha.
I just need to say that.
It's all good. We got you.
Yeah. And I think that the reason that this issue is so important is that while on the one hand, this automatic voter registration, is a good idea, when glitches occur and negate a person's status in terms of voting, it does diminish the capacity to vote, particularly in an area like Wilmington, Delaware, which is the area where Alicia has been concentrating, where the population is 53%, African American. So, we're trying to advocate for people to vote, and people are embracing that. But if glitches prevent you from voting, then, the opportunity to put certain people in office is contaminated.
And look, you've got, when were the primaries in Delaware?
The early voting started in August 26th. It ends on Sunday. The actual primary is on Tuesday.
Wow. So they still have it. So 750 some odd people, and y'all know is that number. Is it more, Alicia?
Well, we don't know. We don't know. That's the number they're giving us. And what we have said is if you've been able to identify 750, then those individuals should be contacted directly so that they can come into the DMV or go to the Department of Elections and have this matter resolved. The way the Department of Elections has handled the matter is here's a number, call us if you have an issue. And that doesn't work because some people show up to the polls. They're told, here's the thing, Roland. Some people have shown up to the polls and they were told, you're not registered, you're not affiliated with the party, so you cannot vote in the primary. Come back in November. And we have verified these stories. Now, the other interesting matter here in Delaware, we have two candidates running for mayor of Wilmington. One is Miss Velda Jones Potter, who is a former state treasurer and city treasurer here who's running. And our governor, our current governor, is running for mayor of Wilmington. Now, the Department of Elections is under his purview in terms of where this responsibility lies to address this issue. We held a forum with him last night. I moderated it, Delaware Faith in Action, and this issue was brought up during that forum. At the time that we brought it up, he said that he would have his chief of staff look into it, but he could not touch it because of his running for office at the time. He was the lieutenant governor. He was our U.S. congressman. He is now our governor, and he's running for mayor in the city now.
Well, listen, we see a lot of these things happen all around the country. Certainly keep us abreast of what happens. Hopefully this gets fixed and folks will be able to cast their vote as best that they can.
Thank you. And thank you for the time.
And if I can say one thing.
Go ahead.
What we are advocating for people who encounter problems, do not leave the polling site. Do not leave until your problem is resolved, or you get an explanation as to why you're not able to vote on Tuesday. So again, we're telling people if you encounter a problem in Delaware voting, either during the early voting period, which ends on Sunday, or on Tuesday, a primary day, do not leave the polling site. Ask a poll worker to give you on-the-spot assistance, or ask for an explanation as to why you are not able to vote.
All right.
And they just put up the number for people to call the ACLU because we're tracking the issues here in Delaware.
All right, then. Well, we appreciate it. Thanks a lot.
Okay,
Thanks, Roland.
thank you.
All right, folks, we come back. We're going to talk about new political ads coming up, including a devastating 8-minute film that shows how anti-black Donald Trump is. We got that for you as well. You're watching Roland Martin Unfiltered on the Black Star Network.
On the next Get Wealthy with me, Deborah Owens, America's Wealth Coach, I'm sure you've seen all those commercials about reverse mortgage and how easy it is to get more money in your pocket. Well, this woman that you're going to hear from knew it was too good to be true, and because of it, she now has 7 figures in net worth.
You know, wait a minute. This house is really valuable, and further, you can get money out of it to help you, and more importantly, you can keep your home.
That's right here on Get Wealthy, only on Black Star Network.
On a next, A Balanced Life with me, Dr. Jackie, we're going to be talking about common sense. We think that people have it, know how to use it, but it is something that people often have to learn. The truth is, most of us are not born with it, and we need to teach common sense, embrace it, and give it to those who need it most, our kids.
So I always tell teachers to listen out to what conversations the students are having about what they're getting from social media, and then let's get ahead of it and have the appropriate conversations with them.
On a next, A Balanced Life with me, Dr. Jackie, here at Black Star Network.
Hi, everybody. I'm Kim Coles.
Hey, I'm Donnie Simpson.
Yo, it's your man Dion Cole from Blackish, and you watch
Roland Martin Unfiltered.
Well, folks, you can always count on some really good political ads at this time of the season. Lincoln Project, you know, those folks are damn good. Check out this new ad that they dropped.
A second term for Donald Trump. What will it look like? Secretary of State Jared Kushner.
Jared Kushner and Ivanka Kushner walk out of the White House and months later get $2 billion from the Saudis.
Homeland Security Marjorie Taylor Greene.
I think your fake eyelashes are messing up.
Justice Department Alina Habba.
This is where your taxpaying dollars are going, America.
FBI Director Jim Jordan.
That's as radical as you can get.
White House Press Secretary Laura Loomer.
Trespassing Nancy Pelosi's private residence.
Give me some money to fund my lawsuits.
HHS Secretary Matt Gaetz.
The House Ethics Committee has released a statement into a number of serious allegations, including sexual misconduct.
Elon Musk for whatever he wants.
Go yourself.
No wonder Trump says,
you don't have to vote again. We'll have it fixed so good you're not going to have to vote.
Well, I say no lies told on that one. I came across this video. If y'all want to, if you want to see a video that lays out how anti-black Donald Trump is, watch this.
Black Lives Matter. There are a lot of thugs.
I love the old days. You know what they used to do to guys like that? They'd be carried out on a stretcher.
The president approvingly retweeted this video of one of his supporters.
A horrific scene in Charlottesville, Virginia, a white nationalist rally that descended into deadly violence and chaos.
I think there's blame on both sides. Very fine people on both sides.
He has pulled one of the great cons in the history of politics.
He could have been born in Kenya.
A lot of people do not think it was an authentic certificate.
I'm starting to wonder myself whether or not he was born in this country.
I was the one that got him to produce the birth certificate. I didn't know she was black until a number of years ago when she happened to turn black. I have been the best president for the black population since Abraham Lincoln.
Donald Trump, he's made it clear throughout his life that he believes black people are inferior.
The Department of Justice accused the Trumps of violating the Fair Housing Act, arguing they were turning away renters based on race and color.
Donald Trump took out $85,000 in ads in the New York City newspapers calling for the execution of minors who at that point had not even gone to trial.
I hate these people, and let's all hate these people.
He has said on multiple occasions that he doesn't want black people involved in the counting of his money or involved in the running of his world.
He is a tried and true, dyed-in-the-wool racist.
In Trump's head, you can't be a person of color and an American.
I would do stop and frisk.
A violent confrontation on a New York City street that ends with one man, a black man, dead.
He just took me out the car, searched the car, asked where are the guns, where are the weapons and the drugs.
This is my license. I'm a pharmacist, right? But I get stopped all the fucking time. And because of that, I have to show this.
Stop and frisk. Very simple. You stop them and you frisk them.
President Trump plans to sign an executive order that will reverse an Obama-era policy which currently restricts local police from getting military-style guns and equipment.
Hands up, don't shoot! Hands up! Go!
Why are African Americans still dying at the hands of law enforcement in this country?
And so are white people. So are white people. What a terrible question to ask. Wages too high. We have to leave it the way it is.
I worked at fast food for over 30 years, and I had to support my kids off of that money. Minimum wage is still $7.25.
It's rough. Gotta work 2-3 jobs just to make ends meet. You have to decide whether you're going to eat or pay your bills.
Look at how well the black community has been doing under this administration.
Effort
efforts to save small business from the impacts of the pandemic have largely missed Black-owned companies.
When I applied for the PPP, we didn't get any help.
The big companies, they didn't have to wait. They got their money. They started spending it immediately. People like me were still waiting.
Great for small businesses, great for the workers.
The Trump administration has done more to shape the courts in just one term than any other president in recent history.
Trump has confirmed 203 federal judges, and of that number, 8 have been black.
Trump judges have suspended affirmative action programs like the Fearless Funds grant for black women in tech, ruled against plaintiffs in housing discrimination cases, supported racially gerrymandered voting maps, blocked the EPA from enforcing environmental justice regulations, leaving communities like Cancer Alley in Louisiana without any protections.
Cancer Alley, the stakeholders are 92% black.
It's black people who are suffering the brunt of all the ill effects of this petrochemical industry. We don't benefit anything from it.
We are the sacrifice zone.
The vote. You should go into Detroit, Philadelphia, Atlanta, and you should go into some of these places, and we got to watch those votes.
Donald Trump said there was rampant fraud. He didn't say it was happening everywhere. He said it's happening in Detroit, Philadelphia, Milwaukee, Fulton County, Georgia, Maricopa County, Arizona, Harris County, Texas, large urban centers with large populations of color. The thing that rhetoric is being used to justify are racially discriminatory voting policies, policies that make it harder for voters of color to vote.
There is a definite anti-white feeling in the country right now. That's what he said. You know, nobody in your family was hung. Nobody in your family was chased because of the color of their skin. How dare you? There's no anti-white issue here. You are perpetrating anti-humanist issues here.
You're living in poverty. Your schools are no good. You have no jobs. I got indicted a second time, and a third time, and a fourth time. That's why the black people like me. We've all seen the mugshot. And you know who embraced it more than anybody else? The black population. I'm being indicted for you, the black population. Kamala, they always say Kamala. And all of a sudden, she made a turn, and she became a black. Would you rather have the black president or the white president? I think they want the white guy. Look at my African American over here. Look at him. Racism. The least racist. I am the least racist person there is anywhere in the world. My favorite color is black.
That was pretty damn good, Yolanda.
You know, I'm real irritated right now. I'm real irritated. I'm choosing my words carefully. The thing that I don't understand is why anybody black could support this man. Literally every negative attribute that anybody has, he gives to us. He literally says that we like him because we appreciate that he was charged with a crime like us. Mm-hmm. As a person who's never been in trouble with the law and who tries to get black folks out of the claws of an unfair, unjust criminal justice system, I'm offended. He targets, and I didn't find it coincidental at all, that he targeted black cities in the majority of the swing states because he wants to try to steal this election any way that he can by sowing distrust and mistrust in the system. And he just says things and people, or his sycophants, just believe him, which terrifies me. And that's why I know that we as black people have got to take it real personal that he's coming for us. And let me be clear. I'm tired of people saying he's targeting people of color. The people of color that get the most negatively affected is us, black people. And we as black people have to own our blackness, and we have to own the fight against us, And we have to stop, at least in this instance, from trying to bring everybody along, because everybody's fighting for themselves. And we need to fight for us, because we cannot take care of other people before we take care of ourselves. And we have got to stop this man. And that's why we need to elect Kamala Harris as president of the United States, because a Justice Department under her can go after all of these unfair laws that they're enacting in these states that are violating the Constitution. That's what people don't understand. You showed all the Republican judges that have literally undid our civil rights gains.
Right.
And we need to have a president who is going to put people on the bench who can undo that. Because the one thing I've not seen in all the time that I've been practicing law, which next year will be 30 years, normally there was established law, and the judges respected that. These Trump judges don't give a freaking you know what, and they will undo it, and they're taking us back. So this is serious. This is a serious matter.
Michael, the thing here is when we talk about, why these videos are important, because, again, social media has totally changed. Not all, everything can be done in 30 and 60 seconds. And so that video there was about a 7-minute video. Y'all get me the name of the group that did it so I can pull them up. That's important because it puts it all in one place how anti-black this man is. And when you got these black maggots running around touting Trump and lying about what he's done for black people, that stuff is important.
Absolutely, and the black maggots are what one of my teachers, Dr. Leonard Jeffries, would refer to as a PWAK. That's a professional white ass kisser, because that's exactly what they are. Now, the good thing about this video, more importantly than what Trump said, is the policies he actually put in place. I've talked about it here on this show before. September 2020, Donald Trump did an executive order when he was president that banned the use of critical race theory in training for federal employees. That's really where the anti-critical race theory movement started. That's 6 months before white conservative activist Christopher Rufo did his series of tweets in March 2021 attacking what he called critical race theory and redefining critical race theory. Then you look at the school boards, right? And how Stephen K. Bannon, who served in the Trump administration as a senior advisor, Stephen K. Bannon on one of his podcasts said that the way to political power in the country today is through the local school board. So we saw Moms for Liberty, we saw these right-wing initiatives to take over school boards. Donald Trump attacked the 1619 Project after he did his executive order in September 2020. And we saw this huge backlash from the right wing against the 1619 Project and Nicole Hannah-Jones. Also, Donald Trump nominated 2 attorney generals who were against criminal justice reform. So whatever Donald Trump wants to claim about the criminal justice reform that he did with Hakeem Jeffries' bill, okay, Jeff Sessions and William Barr were against criminal justice reform, and one of the first things that Attorney General Jeff Sessions did was he reversed Eric Holder's initiative on Smart on Crime, and he backed off of not charging low-level nonviolent offenders with the longest, harshest sentences. And he also backed off of police. He said he stopped the investigations into the patterns and practices of police departments, and he said we need to take a hands-off approach to policing as well. So we can look at the policies that Donald Trump implemented as well and how anti-black they were.
Well, you know,
he has to be stopped.
I got you, Matt. That was a guy, some dude sent me an email and he was just touting about, in the hood, folks had money in their pockets when Trump was president and all this sort of stuff. And I've heard that crap from so many other different people. And I sit here and go, y'all still don't have no idea what the hell y'all talking about. And I said, if there's any black person or any non-black person out there who thinks stimulus checks are going to be raining down on America, especially in the hood, if Trump is there, you are out of your damn mind, because guess what? That ain't happening. The stimulus, that was a once in 100-year pandemic, and it is not happening again. And I'm like, y'all might want to wake the hell up.
Yeah, and it's something that he demanded to put his name on so he could take credit for that once-in-a-lifetime situation where they had to send those stimulus checks. But look, here's the reality. I think Jolanda hit the nail on the head. He uses us as the vehicle to get all of his hate out and talking about any negative attribute. I mean, that's what I think is so powerful about that video. The fact that you see all those things strung together. So anybody who's trying to defend Mr. Trump and his virulent racism against black people cannot get out of the fact that they're not one-offs. And it started back when the exonerated 5 were coming up for trial. I mean, if you take out a full-page ad in the New York Times calling for the death penalty of teenagers, I mean, you're per se hateful. And that has persisted throughout his life and in his service or led service to the country. So it's obvious that, you know, he hates black people, and that's very clear in so many things that he says and that he does. And just the idea that we have allowed a lot of this to be normalized from him, and we continue talking about it rather than just calling him out and saying you are a straight up racist, as we have, is so problematic to me in the way that it's just become such a part of what we allow in politics in a way that it would not have been allowed even 15, 20 years ago for somebody to say the incendiary things that he said. As a matter of fact, if you saw in that video, he said he doesn't want his money counted by a black person. He wants his money counted by a short person who wears yarmulkes. You know what that means? That's a comment to Jewish people, right? And that's the kind of thing you say when you do not have any regard for other people's humanity. And moreover, you are used to just going around saying whatever you want, no matter how hateful. And it's extraordinary to me that we are continuing to talk about the prospect of a second presidency from a known buffoon, a hateful buffoon at that. The fact that there is a large contingent of this country who is considering voting for him is not only scary to put him back in office, but it's scary because there are people walking around espousing the exact ideology that he does who don't say it as loud and with their chest like he does. And that is what makes this so dangerous. Right. We've seen that in this country. He has fomented a lot of that latent, you know, anti-black, anti-anything other than white sentiment that people have had, and he's brought it to the forefront, and that's why a lot of people have supported him, because he's so openly racist, and he gives them license to be the same.
So the other day, former Congresswoman Liz Cheney announced she was going to be, of course, endorsing Vice President Kamala Harris. Now her daddy is doing the same. Yeah, hardcore Republican conservative Dick Cheney issued this statement. He said, in our nation's 248-year history, there's never been an individual who is a greater threat to our republic than Donald Trump. He tried to steal the last election using lies and violence to keep himself in power after the voters had rejected him. He can never be trusted with power again. As citizens, we each have a duty to put country above partisanship to defend our Constitution. That is why I will be casting my vote for Vice President Kamala Harris. Now, keep in mind, when his daughter was running for re-election, Donald Trump was hardcore against her. And Dick Cheney dropped this ad, which is very similar to what we just read. Watch this.
In our nation's 246-year history, there has never been an individual who is a greater threat to our republic than Donald Trump. He tried to steal the last election using lies and violence to keep himself in power after the voters had rejected him. He is a coward. A real man wouldn't lie to his supporters. He lost his election, and he lost big. I know it, he knows it, and deep down, I think most Republicans know it. Lynn and I are so proud of Liz for standing up for the truth, doing what's right, honoring her oath to the Constitution, when so many in our party are too scared to do so. Liz is fearless. She never backs down from a fight. There is nothing more important she will ever do than lead the effort to make sure Donald Trump is never again near the Oval Office. And she will succeed. I am Dick Cheney. I proudly voted for my daughter. I hope you will too.
I'm Liz Cheney, and I approve this message.
Now, that ad dropped there. And listen, this has been one of my biggest criticisms with a lot of these Republicans. They don't care about morals, values, principle, or ethics. Michael, they care about power. I was playing golf the other day, white guy, maybe in the 50s and 60s, politics came up. He said, well, you're not likely on different sides. First of all, I don't know how in the hell, I guess he just assumed I was voting for Vice President Kamala Harris. But okay, guess what? I damn sure am. Then he goes, well, yeah, Trump, he goes, I'm voting for the policies, not the man. The man is just horrible. And I'm looking at him going, I said, yeah, he is horrible. He is very despicable. But that's what they do. And so you see it right there with Dick Cheney. Again, this man's nickname was Darth Vader by the left. This man, hardcore Republican, and he understands you cannot let that man anywhere near the Oval Office. But these Republicans, they don't care. They want to be in power. And this is why I keep telling people we can't play games. We can't assume. We got to sit here and understand. You got to run through the tape and completely eviscerate this man and the MAGAs that support him at the ballot box.
Absolutely. And two quick points. Number one, the guy that you were talking about, when somebody says they support his policies, not the man, my question to them would be, well, what policies do you support? Because his policies overwhelmingly are negative and harmful to America. And if he thinks that Trump's policies will be good for the economy, his tariffs are going to cause a recession. Okay, and there's been analysis on that from Moody's as well as Penn Wharton. But also today, a group of 88 high-profile current and former business executives issued a joint letter endorsing Vice President Kamala Harris, and they're saying that her policies will be better for the economy. We just saw in that video in the ad, Dick Cheney talked about how Donald Trump lost the election, and he knows he lost the election. Well, Trump just admitted this week in the podcast on Tuesday that he lost the election in 2020, and he said he lost it by a whisker, quote unquote, by a whisker. Now, white supremacist Nick Fuentes is asking, well, quote, so why did we stop the steal? Why did anyone go to January 6th? Why did anyone go to jail? So it's like now you got white supremacists, at least one, Nick Fuentes, questioning, well, wait a second, what do we do all that for? Why these people all get arrested if you knew that you lost the election? This is going to blow up in his face. This is going to get worse. It's going to get worse, and this man has to be stopped, period. He can never get back in the White House.
Got it. Matt?
I don't really have too much to add beyond, he can't be back in the White House. And if you have Dick Cheney saying that, there's a real existential threat. It's clear. There have been so many sound bites and so many things. I don't need to run over all of them. But I'll tell you the one that has really stuck in my craw, if you will, is the one about you do not need to vote again. We're going to fix it so you don't need to vote again. Those are the things that I have been expecting, that I expect from another Trump term, that he is really going to try to be dictatorial. And I think one of the first things they're going to do is try to repeal the constitutional amendment that limits somebody to serving 2 years as the president. And I don't think any of those things are histrionics or far-fetched. I think the more you say those kinds of things and you normalize that and you cozy yourself up to dictators, I think we as Americans will see somebody who will be a full-on dictator if he's reelected.
Yolanda?
And so I agree. You hit the nail on the head. You actually took a lot of the points that I was going to say, but I'm going to go back and I'm going to say this. First of all, the beautiful thing about Donald Trump is he's so arrogant, he tells us what the hell he going to do. Right? Mm-hmm. So he done told us, he done told us we ain't gonna have to vote no more. That means he's going to steal elections, or he's just not gonna have them. He's literally put people on the Supreme Court who are going to rubber stamp all of his ideologies. So everything that we think the Constitution stands for and all the things that we fought to have the Constitution protect us from, we're no longer gonna have. It's gonna be appealed all the way up to the Supreme Court. And the Supreme Court is going to undo settled law. And they're going to create the Constitution that allows racist white people to stay in power. That is what they're going to do. It's going to be open season on shooting us. So the little progress we made where some police officers are actually held accountable for shooting and killing us when we caught them on tape and they lied and we were unarmed, all that stuff is going to go away. It's going to go back to the time with Emmett Till and before that. Y'all think I'm playing? Keep on and don't vote. This election matters. We're not going to have access to housing. They're going to be redlining crazily. The Justice Department will not be going in and having the power to protect us because the Supreme Court is going to undo what they say if he's president.
Got it.
They are literally going to destroy public education where we cannot get jobs, we cannot move forward, and that is how it's going to be.
So 1 second. So, talking to the Economic Club of New York the other day, y'all, if y'all want to see how stupid this man is, just watch this here. The question dealt with the issue of childcare. Roll it.
If you win in November, can you commit to prioritizing legislation to make childcare affordable? And if so, what specific piece of legislation will you advance?
Well, I would do that, and we're sitting down. You know, I was we had Senator Marco Rubio, and my daughter Ivanka was so impactful on that issue. It's a very important issue. But I think when you talk about the kind of numbers that I'm talking about, because look, childcare is childcare. There's something, you have to have it. In this country, you have to have it. But when you talk about those numbers compared to the kind of numbers that I'm talking about by taxing foreign nations at levels that they're not used to, but they'll get used to it very quickly. And it's not going to stop them from doing business with us, but they'll have a very substantial tax when they send product into our country. Those numbers are so much bigger than any numbers that we're talking about, including childcare, that it's going to take care. We're going to have, I look forward to having no deficits within a fairly short period of time, coupled with the reductions that I told you about on waste and fraud and all of the other things that are going on in our country, because I have to stay with childcare. I want to stay with childcare, but those numbers are small relative to the kind of economic numbers that I'm talking about, including growth, but growth also headed up by what the plan is that I just told you about. We're going to be taking in trillions of dollars, and as much as child care is talked about as being expensive, it's relatively speaking not very expensive compared to the kind of numbers we'll be taking in. We're going to make this into an incredible country that can afford to take care of its people, and then we'll worry about the rest of the world. Let's help other people. But we're going to take care of our country first. This is about America first. It's about make America great again. We have to do it because right now we're a failing nation. So we'll take care of it. Thank you. Very good question. Thank you.
Did he answer the question?
I had somebody who gave to the show the other day, and they said, "Roland, could you please stop cussing?" And I've severely limited when I cuss. Reese has it. But what the fuck was he talking about? And what the fuck were these people there clapping for? They literally, what? Because he said, make America great again? He gave the most bullshit answer to child care. Didn't even answer the question, I got tariffs and we're going to make lots of money and we're going to, we're tired of paying for stuff. And for 23 days, the media shitted on Joe Biden, talking about his answers, how old he was, and he was confused. And every day, Democrats, he got to get out of the race. This dumbass stood there and said some of the dumbest shit I have ever heard. And if y'all think it's just his dumb ass, listen to his dumb ass running mate, J.D. Vance.
It's such an important question, Charlie. And I think one of the things that we can do is make it easier for family models to choose, or for families to choose whatever model they want, right? So one of the ways that you might be able to relieve a little bit of pressure on people who are paying so much for daycare is make it so that maybe like grandma or grandpa wants to help out a little bit more, or maybe there's an aunt or uncle that wants to help out a little bit more. If that happens, you relieve some of the pressure on all the resources that we're spending in daycare. Now, you talk about just daycare. Let's say you don't have somebody who can provide that extra set of hands. What we've got to do is actually empower people to get trained in the skills that they need for the 21st century. We've got a lot of people who love kids, who would love to take care of kids, but they can't, either because they don't have access to the education that they need, or maybe more importantly, because the state government says you're not allowed to take care of children unless you have some ridiculous certification that has nothing to do with taking care of kids. So empower people to get the skills they need. Don't force every early child care specialist to go and get a 6-year college degree where they've got a whole lot of debt and Americans are much poorer because they're paying out the wazoo for daycare. Empower working families, empower people who want to do these things for a living, and that's what we got to do.
All right, I don't know what the fuck. I hope all y'all who think about voting for these dumbasses just heard two of the dumbest responses ever. Well, maybe grandmama and granddad, maybe they. And some of y'all actually have the audacity to question Vice President Kamala Harris and Minnesota Governor Tim Walz when they say stuff. And this is the Republican ticket. And some of y'all literally think these two absolute ignorant dumbasses are worthy of being in the White House. And the thing that gets me is neither one of them, they probably ain't never had to pay for child care. They don't even know what the hell child care is if it doesn't involve nannies and au pairs and stuff like that. And it just, and see, Matt, this what really pisses me off. What really pisses me off are these punk-ass media outlets like the New York Times who wrote a story as if Trump gave a credible answer to the question when the woman who asked the question went on an outlet and she said that was a bullshit-ass answer. But what they're doing, again, they're framing it as, oh, Joe Biden was crazy. He was comatose. He was damn near having Parkinson's. He has dementia, Alzheimer's, and they position like this dumbass is a genius.
But Roland.
No, Jolanda. Matt.
No, I'll yield to Jolanda. Go ahead, please.
No, hold on, no. I'm going to you for a reason, because I got a question for Jolanda that's separate. Matt, go. I got that. I know what I'm doing. Go.
Yes, sir, you're right. I don't think you're wrong. I think the media has perpetuated a lot of that. And I think he didn't say anything. And frankly, like you said, that was one of the issues that we even discussed on the show, just the fact that there was an imbalance in the coverage of that and an imbalance in the extent to which they were calling into question the candidates' mental faculties, right? With Joe Biden after the debate, that's all you heard about in the 24-hour news cycle for weeks. And Mr. Trump has continued to say things like this that make literally no sense. I mean, he sounds like one of my sons trying to stay up when I tell him to go to sleep, just saying anything. But how about this? How about that? Right? When, it's just incomprehensible. And he's not saying anything at all from a policy standpoint. And when you look at J.D. Vance, what Vance did specifically in his answer is he found a way to come in with that same anti-government rhetoric that they say don't hamper people's ability to be free. He didn't say anything that made any sense, but all he said was don't require a license and let people be more involved. And that's stupid because especially as it comes to kids, we want people to be better qualified when they're taking care of our children. So that's one, not a policy that talks about easing the burden for families. And two, all it does is invoke the anti-government rhetoric that they play on. That's why it's about sound bites and about clever little turns of phrase more so than it is deep policy. So people who are behind this are behind these archetypes. They're not behind real policy, and they're definitely not behind real leadership.
So this is what's, again, just so we know who we're dealing with here, Jolanda. 2017, Wall Street Journal does an article, they're interviewing this fool. And so Donald Trump was describing an on-site daycare at one of his companies. Go to my iPad. So, it's not expensive for a company to do it. You need one person or two people, you need some blocks, and you need some swings and some toys. It's not an expensive thing, and I do it all over. And I get great people because of it, because it's a problem with a lot of other companies. Then he points to these other, they call them Trump kids. Another one calls it Trumpeteers, if you can believe it. I have them. I actually have them because I have a lot of different businesses. He went on to describe a room that's a quarter of the size of this, and they have all sorts of, it's beautiful. They have a lot of children there. We take care of them. And the parent, when they leave the job, usually in my case, it's clubs or hotels. When they leave the job, they pick up their child, and their child is totally safe. They come in during the day, during lunch, to see their child. It really works out well. Jolanda, they didn't exist.
Right.
They literally, these daycares, literally, he's describing a fictitious daycare. He flat out lied. And you know what these folks did? They let him go ahead and say it.
But so my mother always said, why are you surprised when white folks white, right? Why are you surprised when white media perpetuates white negative stereotypes of us and white lunacy, which is why you and what you do is so important, because we can check them. And we all know there are always black people that think white folks' ice is colder. And they're going to trumpet and they're going to repeat whatever white folks say. And so what we have to do, Roland, we have to speak truth to power. We need to call bullshit bullshit. We need to call a spade, and we need to point out this idiocy. With J.D. Vance, they asked him about childcare and how that they could afford, how they could make it more affordable for us, or for people with kids. And he literally didn't talk about how any certification or anything would translate into a parent actually having to pay less for their kids. So nothing they said made sense. And so what we have to do is we have to run through the finish line on November 5th. We have to point this out, but we have to explain to people, and you've said this all the time, Roland, that one of these people are going to win. I'm going to say it again. One of them is going to win, so we can't stay home, and we've got to point out how racist and how anti-black he is. And I think for black people, we've got to talk about how anti-black he is, because there will be some people who will resonate with that. That's what we've got to do. That's what I'm going to do. And I'm not surprised when white folks white. I've been black all my life. And the one thing that we are created to do is overcome shit. We've overcome slavery, we've overcome Jim Crow, and we go overcome this because we know how to push through. And that's what we need to remember, and we need to keep our eye on the prize, and we need to make sure we speak truth to power. We need to call his shit, and we need to get her elected. And then a lot of our problems will be better able to be dealt with.
So the thing here, go to my iPad. Michael, this is an Associated Press story. They said, again, the Wall Street Journal just ran as gospel. But again, Rupert Murdoch owns them, so they're not checking a damn thing. So the two programs Trump cited, Trump Kids and Trumpeteers, are programs catering to patrons of Trump's hotels and golf club. They are not for Trump's employees, according to staff at Trump's hotels and clubs across the country. He's a liar. Housekeeper at Trump International Las Vegas. No, there's no child care. He's a liar. He's a flat-out liar. Something happened to Michael's signal, but that's what it is. Folks, that's what we're dealing with. We're dealing with a massive liar. And you got people who support this massive liar, and that's what they constantly do. They support liars. I'm going to go to a break. When we come back, more about Roland Unfiltered on Black Star Network. Hey, support the work that we do. Join our Bring the Funk fan club. Goal is to get 20,000 of our fans contributing on average $50 each, $4.19 a month, 13 cents a day. You can support us via various methods. Send your check and money order to P.O. Box 57196, Washington, D.C. 20037-0196. Cash App. $RM Unfiltered. I'm sorry. Don't do that Cash App yet. PayPal's R Martin Unfiltered. Venmo's RM Unfiltered. Zelle, Roland at RolandSMartin.com. Roland at RolandMartinUnfiltered.com. We're still sorting out issues with that Cash App, so send to this one, $Uncle Roro Martin. You see the QR code right here on the screen. Come on, switch. Thank you. QR code right here. Again, $Uncle Roro Martin, and then that is the QR code. We'll use that one. Let me give a shout out here. Give me 1 second. Let's see here. Emery Trotter, Yoreen Belizaire, Peter Fullstack, Lewis Bridges, Tanya Welch, Daryl Teague, Tedrick Rhodes, Mr. Wonderful, Anastasia Paget. Thank you, all of you, for supporting the show. I'll be back in a moment.
Hatred on the streets, a horrific scene, a white nationalist rally that descended into deadly violence.
White people are losing their damn minds.
As an angry pro-Trump mob storms the U.S. Capitol, we've seen shooting.
We're about to see the rise of what I call white minority resistance. We have seen white folks in this country who simply cannot tolerate black folks voting.
I think what we're seeing is the inevitable result of violent denial.
This is part of American history. Every time that people of color have made progress, whether real or symbolic, there has been what Carol Anderson at Emory University calls white rage as a backlash.
This is the rise of the Proud Boys and the Boogaloo Boys. America, there's going to be more of this.
Here's all the Proud Boys, guys.
This country is getting increasingly racist in its behaviors and its attitudes because of the fear of white people.
The fear that they're taking our jobs, they're taking our resources, they're taking our women. This is white fear.
What's good, y'all? This is Doug E. Fresh, and you're watching my brother Roland Martin Unfiltered as we go a little something like this. Hit it. It's real.
The suspected teen mass shooter faced a Georgia judge today. After hearing Colt Gray's attorney did not request a bond. Colt is facing 4 counts of felony murder for killing 2 teachers and 2 students. Richard Aspinwall, Christina Ermey, and 14-year-olds Mason Schermerhorn and Christian Angelo. Those are the 4 people who were killed. Colt is being held in the Gainesville Regional Youth Detention Center. However, he's charged as an adult. His father, Colin Gray, also appeared before a judge today. He was arrested for allowing his son to have the weapon used in Wednesday's deadly shooting. The 54-year-old Gray faces 4 counts of involuntary manslaughter, 2 counts of second-degree murder, and 8 counts of cruelty to children. The charges are based in part on a warning that police gave last year when Colt allegedly made threats on a social media platform and Colin Gray's alleged purchase of an assault rifle for his son. Now, here's the issue that you have in Georgia. And again, this guy, Matt, was on the FBI's radar. They were aware of this kid. They were aware of the threats. And the problem is, Governor Brian Kemp and Republicans, you don't have any way to keep a gun out of a kid like this hand. They're sitting here trying to fight fake voter fraud and don't want to deal with kids like this who still can access weapons.
Or in Texas, you just make it easier to have a weapon and to carry a weapon and to go out and be Rambo if you want to be Rambo. You know, I was hoping we would talk about this case today because, like Jolanda, I've done a lot of criminal defense. I think it is the quintessential lawyering. I've said that on this show before. And I'm really worried about what this means for going forward with parents in this situation. It's a tough thing because obviously we want somebody to be held accountable. Somebody should be held accountable. But here, I think it's the kid. The parent, even though the FBI had information that the child may have made some threats or something before, it really concerns me that parents are being charged, especially at this level, without there being very clear evidence that they were encouraging it. And I know that it's from a standpoint of he didn't deny access to the child or whatever the case may be. But I heard today a story about a local case where a person who had a gun safe, who had a key fob, who had all of the security stuff in place is being charged because their child got access to it. I tell you that to say this. Like we were talking about in the earlier case, when it comes to the criminal justice system, one of the biggest points of leverage that they have is the prospect of charges and trial. And in this case, this guy, I mean, I think we really need to have conversations about this parent and the people in Michigan. Because if parents are being charged for what their children do without overt acts like you would have in a conspiracy, I think that just emboldens the ridiculous hardline prosecutors to start throwing out charges like murder charges that this guy now has to face because his son did something extraordinarily heinous. Don't get me wrong. I don't know that these charges should stick, and I really think we should be concerned the more we see prosecutors bring charges like this, except for in the most egregious circumstances where parents are either actively encouraging the conduct or otherwise just providing the weapon, literally putting it in the kid's hands. So if you don't have that evidence, I don't know that we should be bringing these charges.
So I understand that. I understand that point. I understand that point. But I guess what jumps out at me is the kid made these threats. The dad was apprised of the threats the kid made, and the dad still bought him an AR assault rifle for Christmas. I mean,
I respectfully disagree with him, Roland. I respectfully disagree.
Okay, hold on. I don't wait. I'm gonna let you disagree, but let me finish. So hold on. So let me walk people through. So for Christmas, this past Christmas, the dad buys the weapon. Now, if my son had made threats about killing people at school, and I know this, and I then turn around and buy him an assault rifle for Christmas, and I'm aware of what just happened, then what the hell am I doing? I mean, I'm the parent. I'm the one who's supposed to be the adult. I'm the one who's supposed to have jurisdiction over the child. And so if I am buying him an assault-style weapon after he's made threats about killing folks at school, that's on me. Jelana, go.
Yeah, so I agree with you, but let me just tell you, like, what it means legally. In the law, we always held responsible for what we knew, what we should have known. First of all, the FBI don't call every parent about their kid. They don't do it. If you're a parent, you know when your kids get in trouble, they lie. How do we know that? The cookie jar broke, the kids at the house. Why do you separate them? Because you know they gonna lie. This kid, he taught his son how to hunt. I listened to an interview today where they interviewed the kid and the father about for last year whenever he threatened people on the internet. The father was like, "Oh, I don't believe that about my son. There's no way." And quite frankly, I'm irritated that you guys were even talking to me about this. And yeah, we go hunting, so he knows his son knows how to shoot. And it is our role as parents to teach our children what appropriate behavior is. And when you love your guns more than you love people, and you love your guns more than you love teaching your child right from wrong, then you absolutely should be held accountable for it. Because if the parents aren't responsible for their minor children, then who should? Should I be responsible for some kid I don't know? I don't know he has issues. I don't know the FBI call the house. I don't know none of that stuff. So I maybe can understand parents who had no indication of anything about their kid, but the red flags were all over the place with this kid. And when you have his mother, when you go back and look at their social media, they got all kind of issues with child abuse, child neglect, and all this other kind of stuff. This kid clearly needed some counseling or something. And so it's not like this kid was normal, he fit in, and nobody had any indication. Everybody knew this child was a problem prior to the shooting, and the father absolutely should be held responsible, because if we can't count on parents to take care of their kids and protect us from their dangerous kids, then we are all one mass shooting away from dying, and so are our families.
So let me expand this. Michael, and I'm coming to your state. Go to my iPad. So this is a case that's gotten lots of attention in Michigan. A kid was driving at a high rate of speed, and he killed his friend who was in the car. Now, here's the issue. The mother installed an app on her phone that tracked her son's driving. You see here, slow the fuck down, Elizabeth Paleo text her son. I have screenshots of you doing 90 miles an hour in the middle of the night. And again, 2 weeks ago, 123 miles an hour. She also texts, it's not healthy, it's not safe, and it scares me to my bone. Now, here's the problem. She kept letting him drive. Not only that, the story says here, in November, she went on a trip to Canada, leaving her new BMW X3 M Series at home. He drove, first of all, on November 17th, he crashed the BMW into a tree, going 105 miles an hour. He escaped serious injury. His friend, 18-year-old Flynn Mackrell, died at the scene. Now, they have numerous examples from the app and her text messages of the kid driving sometimes 170 miles an hour. They never took the keys away. So the parents of the kid who was killed, they want her prosecuted. Now, Michael, here's an example. If, again, you're the parent, kid 16 years old, you control access to the vehicle. You control what he may drive. Do you get a car that only goes 80? Do you, no, I'm saying, serious. Do you say, I can't, no. One, you cannot drive. You got to Uber everywhere you go. So in this case, I'll be honest with you. I hold the parents responsible here. You allowed your son to keep driving after he repeatedly exceeded 100 miles an hour, and you were telling him this over a period of months. At some point, and again, he's 16, Michael. You're still the adult. In both of these cases, do you believe the parent should have been charged, Michael?
In the case here in Winder, Georgia, I think the parent definitely should have been charged, because when you look at the reporting from NBCnews.com, both Colt Gray and his son, both Colin Gray, the father, and Colt Gray were interviewed by the authorities regarding a May 2023 incident where allegedly Colt Gray was threatening students, okay? So it's not a situation where he can say he didn't know that he was threatening students or anything like that. He was actually interviewed by the authorities, and then he still bought the AR-15 assault rifle for his son after that, okay? So you have to bear some responsibility. What did you think was going to happen? And you taught him how to shoot, and you bought him a gun. And the other thing, why does a 14-year-old need an AR-15? I still don't understand that. In the case here in Michigan, this involves, I think this is a little trickier, because this is not a denial from the parent, and you have technology that kind of complicates things, but the parent has warned, you showed at least 2 instances where the parent warned the 16-year-old to slow down, and they were driving excessively fast. And then apparently we have evidence that the parent knew there were other instances where the child was driving excessively fast. So criminal prosecution, this is kind of uncharted territory. And in Michigan, this is where Oxford, Michigan was. We had an Oxford shooting.
Yeah, so I'm about to pull that up, that particular shooting there. Again, kid kills. The parent. Kid kills 4 people, injures 7. Go to my iPad. Took place in November 2021. And his parents were sent to prison because they got him the weapon. Go ahead.
Well, not only did they get him the weapon, but in that case, there was some red flags that they ignored. Also, they got him the weapon. They knew he had problems. It wasn't like, oh, I had no idea my baby was crazy. That wasn't the case here. They knew he had problems. Okay, in the Oxford shooting. So that is kind of different than the speeding case. But with the speeding case, at least a civil lawsuit, bare minimum, a civil lawsuit.
I mean, I get that. I just think that if I am aware that my son or daughter is driving at a high rate of speed, and I am constantly imploring them to stop, and they don't, I'm taking keys. You can't drive. It's not going to happen. And the fact that they didn't stop him, they leave out of town, They leave the keys there. He's driving the vehicle. His friend gets killed. I mean, at some point, what the hell's parental responsibility, Matt, if that's not it? And so, go ahead.
I get what you're saying, but I don't want there to be an unnecessary conflation of things. Parents absolutely should be morally responsible. And I definitely think in the circumstance, and maybe I'm a little wrong, maybe in this case, this particular case in Georgia, there are some charges that would make sense. I think murder charges are entirely too far. If you look at the law of the state of Texas, intentionally, knowingly, or recklessly, how do you recklessly or intentionally or knowingly do something that's going to cause murder?
So that's murder. So let's go to Michigan. Hold on. So Michigan was manslaughter. So do you?
No,
so
he's charged with 2 counts of murder. He's charged with 2 counts of murder in Michigan. And I think that that's a problem. I think that's too high a charge as it relates to murder. And I understand that there are some theories whereby you can get to murder under certain circumstances. But the reason I think this is a problem is because prosecutors are going to be emboldened to start charging parents when some kid is selling drugs. And here's the last thing. The parents in Michigan who got convicted literally went to the school and addressed the issue. Nobody from the school got prosecuted, but because they wanted somebody to be held accountable, it was the parents. And here's the issue.
Okay, so Matt, are you saying, I just want to clarify. So are you saying that you believe the murder charge is too high, but that the murder charge is too high, but if it's a manslaughter charge, that's more palatable?
I don't know Michigan law, but I would say under Texas, I would charge this as criminally negligent homicide.
Got it. Okay.
Criminally negligent.
No, hold on, Matt. The only reason I'm saying that, because somebody will say, oh my God, Matt wants the parents to get off. What you're saying, no, that's what I'm saying. So what you're saying is the murder charge is too high, that there are lesser charges that you can file against a parent in cases like this.
And here's why I actually think it would be better.
Okay. Hold on, Jolanda. I want to clarify that with Matt. Matt, go.
I think criminally negligent homicide would be a more appropriate charge in this case because it's a lower burden of proof. Part of the problem is if you swing for the fences, if this guy doesn't plead guilty because he's afraid, you may go and get a hung jury that says, I don't know that you've proven the mental state that he did it with the intent of aiding his son committing murder. Criminally negligent homicide, were you negligent in denying access to the gun? Yeah, probably, right?
Got it.
You get from that theory. But the bigger issue is we have to be concerned that prosecutors are trying to find novel ways to hold someone accountable in circumstances rather than addressing the overarching issue of gun policy and the prevalence of guns. Guns are everywhere.
And your fear is that if we take this beyond school shootings, or in the case of Grosse Pointe, Michigan, driving at a high rate of speed, that all of a sudden what may then happen is a prosecutor may then, if drugs were sold, they may try to expand this in a way that it goes far beyond these sort of large, high-profile cases. Got it. Jolanda, go.
So here's my thing. First of all, I think all 3 cases, the parents knew or should have known what their kids were doing. That's the first thing I'm going to say. So to act like, because you didn't know specifically what they were going to do, that they shouldn't be held accountable, I don't agree with that. It's the first thing I'm going to say. The second thing that I'm going to say is this. It is not unusual in a trial, you charge somebody with murder, there are what's called lesser included crimes. So you can swing for murder. If the jury doesn't believe that there's a requisite intent, then they can be convicted of a lesser included. So what he wants to do can still happen with the way that they are charged. And I'm going to say this again, Roland, and I 1,000% agree with you, that parents are in a unique position to know what is going on with their children. And if we abdicate our responsibility as parents, we need to pay attention to what our kids are doing. Even with the kids with the mass shooting in Michigan, the parent came to school, the kid was saying he was going to kill people. And you do not have to have the intent for the specific outcome. It is reasonable to believe that if I give you an AR-15, there's somebody going to die. I don't have to have a magic ball and know when you're going to shoot it and who specifically is going to die under what circumstances. And so the law doesn't require you to do that, right? But if you intended to have the gun, you intended to give your son a gun, the only reason that somebody has a gun is to shoot it. You already said they shoot stuff. You already know that he was threatening to have a mass freaking shooting. That's what y'all got interviewed for. A mass shooting. A mass shooting occurred. 4 people died. Therefore, and you were upset that they had the audacity to interview you and your kid. Yeah, you need to be exactly where you are, charged with what you got charged with, and deal with it. And what that will cause parents to do is pay attention to their children, because too many parents don't pay attention to what their children are doing when the signs were written all over the wall if you would have paid attention and been a damn parent.
Yeah, let me respond, please. Two things can be true at the same time. I've tried prosecutor and defense attorney many cases where lesser includeds were involved. And you and I both know in Texas, a prosecutor automatically gets lesser includeds. Defense got to show evidence that you get lesser includeds, right? You're not wrong about that. But it's still a problem to me that a prosecutor would say, I'm going to swing for the fences on this very tenuous, in my argument, theory as it relates to the mental state. Because yes, the parent knew there were red flags, but that does not mean that the parent knew the child was actually going to go do something, threats notwithstanding. If that were the case, we would put every single person who ever makes a threat in prison forever, and we don't do that. We have to be able to prove it. And I think that making parents accountable, even in the most heinous circumstances, is important, yes, to hold them accountable, but only where we really have good evidence. Because what's going to happen otherwise is parents across the country are going to start getting charged for things that their children do. And that's why we have a juvenile system. That's why we have a whole criminal justice system for when children commit crimes. Otherwise, I guarantee you it would be black and brown people and parents who get the brunt of prosecutors now going after them, turning minor things into the parents' responsibility. In fact, that's why in Texas, they got rid of truancy for parents. Because why? The parents weren't at school and they couldn't make the child go to school. That's a much different circumstance. But the point is, you have the same proof issues. And I think you're going to have those issues in this circumstance. That's just my opinion.
I don't think you have those issues. He gave the boy an AR-15 for Christmas, literally 7 months after he got interrogated by the FBI because his son threatened to have a mass shooting. It's not every day that the FBI calls anybody's house about a mass shooting. And mass shootings in the United States are real. They happen all of the time. So take it seriously. And I do agree with you that whenever they do anything in this country, because I've been black all my life, just like you've been black all your life, they always penalize us more. But we cannot stop requiring parents to be parents and paying attention to what their children are doing and putting guardrails in place to try to prevent these types of things, because we are fearful that the government is going to start targeting black people.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we're on the same page on that.
Well, it is certainly something to look out for, and you have parents and others who want justice, and that is what they are demanding. Going to go to a quick break. We come back. We'll talk about the jobs report that dropped today. Also have Black and Missing. Plus, Freddy Jackson addresses the reports about his weak voice and his gaunt condition. We'll show you that as well. You're watching Roland Martin Unfiltered on the Black Star Network. When you talk about blackness and what happens in black culture, we're about covering these things that matter to us, speaking to our issues and concerns.
This is a genuine people-powered movement.
There's a lot of stuff that we're not getting. You get it, and you spread the word.
We wish to plead our own cause. Too long have others spoken for us. We cannot tell our own story if we can't pay for it. This is about covering us. Invest in black-owned media. Your dollars matter. We don't have to keep asking them to cover our stuff. So please support us in what we do, folks. We want to hit 2,000 people, $50 this month, raise $100,000. We're behind $100,000, so we want to hit that. Y'all money makes this possible. Check some money orders. Go to P.O. Box 57196, Washington, D.C. 20037-0196. The Cash App is $RM Unfiltered. PayPal is R Martin Unfiltered. Venmo is RM Unfiltered. Zelle is Roland at RolandSMartin.com.
Hey, yo, what's up? This is Mr. Dalvin right here. What's up? This is KC. Sitting here representing the JODECI. That's Jodeci. Right here on Roland Martin Unfiltered.
Tia Thacker has been missing from her Beaufort, South Carolina home since April 4th. The 15-year-old is 5 feet tall, weighs 114 pounds with black hair and brown eyes. Tia may go by the first name Simone or the last name Martin. Anyone with information about Tia Thacker should call the Beaufort County, South Carolina Sheriff's Office at 843-524-2777, 843-524-2777. U.S. labor market, folks, the report is out for August. According to the Bureau of Labor Statistics, employers added an estimated 142,000 jobs last month. The overall unemployment rate slightly dropped to 4.2% in August from July's 4.3%. Black Americans saw their jobless rate fall to 6.1% from 6.3% in the month prior. This trend was in line with the rate for black men falling to 5.9%. Black women stayed the same at 5.5%. The thing here, Michael, is that Republicans keep whining and complaining about the economy. The fact of the matter is we have never had an economy where you had the unemployment rate this low for this long period of time. And they keep yelling that, oh, my God, the sky is falling, but it's not. And inflation is also dropping as well.
You have 142,000 jobs created over 40 straight months of private sector job growth. Unemployment rate ticked down to 4.2%. And the reason why Republicans are, I mean, when you're the party that tries to rewrite the January 6th insurrection and try to say it's not that bad, when you try to lie about what happened, then it's clear. It's not surprising when you root for a recession to take place. But if you want a recession to happen, let Donald Trump get back in office, because his tariffs are going to create a recession. So this is a healthy economy. It's not a perfect economy. Yes, you still have to continue to attack inflation, go after price gouging, stop the merger of Kroger and Albertson, things of this nature. But when you look at things to boost the economy, attack inflation, things of this nature, Republicans generally have no policies to address that. You're going to get word salad like you did with Donald Trump dealing with childcare costs. OK, they have no policies to address this. So we need to continue and understand how you know, the CNBC.com has an article dealing with how Donald Trump's economic policies would increase the deficit 5 times more than Kamala Harris's policies will as well. So this is all tied to who you vote for, and elections have consequences.
You know, Matt, President Joe Biden posted this on his social. They posted it on his social media account. The United States has the strongest post-pandemic recovery in the world. And this is the thing that I sort of keep trying to remind people that a thing called a pandemic existed. And so when you look at real GDP recovery, the G7, so again, GDP recovery for the United States, 9.4%. Next highest country is Canada at 5.45%. Italy, 4.7%. You can go on and on and on. You see these various countries. And I know folks in the United States don't give a damn about the rest of the world, but the bottom line is this here. We talk about, I keep telling people, there was a thing called a pandemic. And that pandemic was in 2020, was in 2021, it went into 2022. We still are dealing with the after effects of a pandemic. So this idea that it was just gonna just snap back is sort of like a bunch of crazy dudes. If a woman gets pregnant, has a child, and they think, oh, her body's gonna snap back. That's kind of it. I'm saying that because that's how stupid some people are. I mean, the reality is these things take time. And so we have to understand that these things take time. And folks went, well, things were better before the pandemic. Well, no shit. I mean, yeah, guess what? 1 million plus people died because of COVID. I'm quite sure those families would say, yeah, my loved one was alive before COVID. I mean, that's the thing that probably drives me crazy the most, this idea that, oh, why isn't everything back to normal? Well, guess what? You can go to any downtown in America and you will see things are not back to normal. Why? Because people are not in the office the way they used to. So what's the result of that? Commercial real estate is down. Massive numbers. Also, restaurants and other stores in downtown areas have closed shop or moved to other places because guess what? The people aren't there. And so I just wish Americans would stop being idiotic at times and understand that in order to recover from a 100-year pandemic, it's kind of going to take a little time.
You're 100% right. But first, you're not going to get me in trouble referencing that metaphor you used a moment ago about snapping back.
Well, guess what? I'm going to say it, and it's true. If you're a man and you're like, well, I don't understand why she ain't lost the baby weight, because dumbass, you didn't put the weight on. It's just, no, I'm saying it because people are stupid and act like, well, I don't understand. If a person's had a baby and they gained 40, 50 pounds, they ain't going to lose it in 3 damn days.
Let the record reflect I did not comment on that metaphor. But
I did.
As it relates to this economic issue, I think you're right. And, we talked about this before. The Atlantic ran an article with the headline directly on this about basically people not only having misconceptions about the economy, but even more so having negative feelings about an actually good economy and a recovering economy. And I think you're right. I think, there's not enough value given to the economic effect that the pandemic had, but not only the literal economic effect, the psychological effect, the way we view it. And frankly, to your point, I was telling somebody at lunch today that I have many more clients than I probably ever would have had before the pandemic that I have never met in person, that I've interacted with remotely for whatever reason. That is the new normal in practice. I mean, there are a lot of lawyers that don't have offices. There are a lot of people who no longer get commercial real estate, exactly like you're saying. So the economy is I didn't realize it had recovered comparatively as well as it has, but I think that's a really good metric because I think it shows, the effect of good leadership and how that's culminated in a bounce back that most definitely would not have occurred under Mr. Trump.
Go.
So I think, Roland, first of all, the pandemic actually created a whole new economy. We were forced to do things remotely that we didn't do before. So now you realize you don't have to pay that overhead for to go to the store, or now I can order my stuff online. So you're going to have to figure out new ways to create commerce because it's just different. It's not going back. That's the first thing I'll say. The second thing I'll say, and I'm going to use this as a personal experience, when I was pregnant with my child, and everybody knows that I'm a fitness freak because I'll be 59 come November, and I know I don't look it, but my nurse—
No, you look 65. Go ahead.
So my nurse said to me at the doctor's office, Jolanda, you didn't gain that weight in a day, and you're not going to lose it in a day. It's going to look like a baby still in there when a baby comes out. And it did take me a while. So you're speaking truth to power, Roland. But I'll also tell you something else that is—
I know I am. Matt just scared.
Too many people are looking to social media for reality when it's false. So people are showing vacations and they're doing this and they're doing that. And people think other people have money that they don't have. And they're projecting that onto their perceptions about how well they think the economy is doing. So I say kudos to President Biden and Vice President Harris because they do have good economic policies, and people just don't know the truth. And I'm going to keep saying this again. That's why I'm so thankful that you're here, because a lot of people listen to you and you break it down in regular people's terms so they can understand, because I don't think most people know what gross domestic product means. They don't know those things, but the economy is doing well. It's doing better than it was, and we need to get President Harris come November 5th.
I definitely agree with what's been said. And unfortunately, most Americans don't understand how the economy works. We've talked about before on the show the company that was sued for price fixing the price of eggs. They were sued for, they had to settle for about $53 million. Then also you had millions of chickens that were killed because they had the avian flu that drove up the price of the cost of chickens as well as eggs. The Ukraine war drove up the price of grain. So a lot of people don't understand, especially when they operate based upon this Donald Trump ideology of America first, don't understand how other things around the world impact the economy here. Okay, it wasn't just COVID. It was the Ukraine war. You have price gouging, but then also the increase in the cost of vehicles, of cars and rental cars because of the shortage of microchips as well. And this is something that the CHIPS Act is called Stuff Happens
that leads to other shit happening that maybe your life ain't the same the way it used to be. And it's called calm your ass down and wait till it come back.
Yep, and not only that, also people have to keep in mind that Donald Trump inherited a healthy economy from the Obama-Biden administration, and he squandered the economy.
Well, right, well, I had some Negro from Compton emailing me, oh, man, in the hood, we were doing great. We were killing it under Trump. And I'm like, dumbass, that was because the economy that Obama and Biden handed to him, and let's not forget what economy they were handed by Bush Cheney. So he talking about all Trump did this and did that, and I'm like, what did his ass leave? 16.9% unemployment. I said broke left and right. I'm like, oh, y'all forget. So I just I love these Simple Simon Negroes and these maggots who want to talk about 2017, 18, and 19 and act like 2020 never happened.
Well, they skip over the 3 government shutdowns in the first 2 years of the Trump administration. They skip over the $1.9 trillion American Rescue Plan that gave them larger stimulus checks from Biden, Harris than Trump, Pence. They skip over the child tax credit that lifted 1 million African-American children out of poverty because of Biden, Harris, because of the $1.9
Yeah, they skip over every damn thing, and it just and they think that this fool
in the House or the Senate voted for that bill either.
And they skip over all his damn bankruptcies. So that's just what they do. First of all, before I go, y'all real quick, all y'all YouTube people, y'all sitting on y'all ass, hit that damn like button. Okay, y'all been sitting here commenting left and right. Hit the damn like button. No reason we should be over 1,000. All right, y'all. All kind of folks been commenting for the last few months about Freddy Jackson, how his voice sounds, why he's so frail. Well, finally, Freddy addressed it publicly. He put this video out.
Hey, everyone. It's Freddy Jackson, and I hope you all are doing well today. I wanted to share something deeply personal with you. After a lot of thought and reflection, I've come to a point where I feel I'm ready to talk about a recent chapter in my life. I have been diagnosed with kidney disease. This journey has had its challenges, but I've decided to face it with openness and resilience. It's important to me that I share this with you, not just as a part of my personal story, but as a way to make a positive difference. I'm excited to let you know that I've partnered with the National Kidney Foundation. Together, we're working to raise awareness about kidney health and support for those who are affected by kidney disease. It's a cause that's close to my heart, and I hope our efforts will help shine a light on the importance of this issue. Your support has always meant the world to me. As I take this step, I'm turning my personal experience into a platform for greater understanding and advocacy. With your help, we can work towards better awareness and improved outcomes for everyone with kidney disease. Thank you for your encouragement, your love, and your support. It means more to me than I can express. From the bottom of my heart, I love you.
You know, Jelana, that video is important because I think it was about 2 or 3 months ago. He was performing in Jamaica, and man, folks were going in, talking about how he sounded, how he looked. And look, he had massive amounts of weight. And I remember when I'm gonna try to find a video in a second, when he was at the Jeffrey Osborne golf tournament, same thing happened. And I was like, first of all, I didn't realize that was Freddy Jackson. And I was like, what happened to Freddy? And of course, he had lost a large amount of weight. And so by now coming out, people now can chill out, just like when people were commenting about Chadwick Boseman when he was losing weight and not realizing that he was suffering from colon cancer. And I think Freddie is also right. By him speaking up, it will help advance the discussion regarding kidney disease.
Yeah, it will. I also think that people should not have to share their medical diagnosis if they don't want to. But I also know that sometimes people just don't know about issues. And so to the extent he's sharing with us his kidney disease diagnosis, causes people to pay attention to what causes kidney disease and how they can try to protect themselves from your kidneys failing. I think that that's important. So, because I've had people in my family that have needed kidney transplants. So I think a lot of times what you put into your body could cause you tremendous difficulties, and things that you can get away with when you're young, they will wear on you. Sort of like a car, you can do a lot of stuff when a car is brand new, but over time that same car can't take the same mistreatment, and then it falls apart. The same thing happens with our organs.
So listen, you know, Matt, Yolanda's right in terms of, I mean, again, people, when you're an individual, I mean, you have privacy, and everyone has that. But unfortunately, the reality is when you're in the public eye, this is what often happens when people raise these issues.
Well, first off, don't put me on this show with Yolanda again, because she says so much of what I want to say, except for where we disagree on the case. It's number one.
Well, that's why I tried to have your ass talk first. I had to tell her twice. I had to tell her several times, hold up, Matt. See, I tried to help your ass out.
Well, let me help you out, because you missed the opportunity to say, Yolanda, you don't look 59 at all. I need to drink the water you drink.
No, I did comment. I said 65.
It's okay, brother. It's cool. Yes, it's all right. You missed it. But here's the point.
No, I said 65, but she was going. She didn't hear. But go ahead.
He just hating. He hating.
Okay. Yeah, he hating. But it's all good. In any event, you know, I think she's exactly right. That has been my thought. That was my thought with Chadwick Boseman. It's a sad reality that the fact that someone is in the public eye, too often we don't afford them the humanity that we get as private citizens, right? The question should really come from a standpoint of, is the brother okay, rather than going in on him. And I think, you know, there is a level of curiosity that people are entitled to have. But frankly, if you remember on the show when we talked about Lloyd Austin, I had the same perspective, which is that, you know, especially when somebody's battling a really serious disease or very serious malady, I mean, the last thing they want to do is tell the whole world about it. And it's sad that sometimes they get boxed into that. But I do think there is a benefit to raising awareness and encouraging other people to make sure they're living their healthiest lives. It's just a sad thing to see that in the midst of this, rather than, you know, coming around them, we start asking questions, and a lot of times from a negative standpoint. And I wish that didn't happen.
Michael?
You know, first of all, prayers for Freddy Jackson. So I hope he's able to beat this. We know that, so I'm glad he's coming out and partnering with the National Kidney Foundation as well. We know that 1 in 3 Americans are at risk of developing kidney disease, and African Americans are more than 3 times as likely to develop kidney disease as well than white Americans. But also we have complicated issues because of other factors such as heart disease, diabetes, et cetera. And when we talk about reparative justice, Roland and everybody watching, when we talk about reparative justice, we also have to deal with how African Americans are disproportionately impacted by these types of diseases because of racism as well. So this is all tied together. But I'm glad he was able to make this video, and I hope something good comes out of it.
All right, then. Well, let me thank all the panelists for being on the show. I certainly appreciate it. Thanks a lot. Michael, Yolanda, and Matt, thank you so very much. And some of y'all were sitting here commenting in the chat. I'm going to go ahead and do this here because y'all were like, is that Eddie? So, yeah, this was actually at the Jeffrey Osborne Golf Tournament. So before I close the show out, man, I'll go ahead and let y'all have a little taste of this what it was like when I go to these golf tournaments, when they have these sing-offs. Roll it. So they were sitting here grooving it at the golf tournament. And in fact, it was like a 30-minute just video. It was just crazy. And they were doing it, and my man Eddie was just grooving. And that was another part of that. I'm about trying to set it up for y'all because he's saying twice. And it was just straight fire. And see, y'all see why I keep trying to tell y'all this is the blackest show out here? Y'all can't get this. I don't give a damn how many times Ari Melber quotes rap lyrics. Y'all ain't getting this black of a show. Y'all ain't getting this black of a show. Y'all not. All right, go play the next one.
Come on. What you say? What you say, Eddie? Make love to you tonight. All right. Love on you. Come on, man. Love on you. What you say? Tonight. Let me love on you. What you say? Let me love on you. I said, what you say? Let me squeeze on you. Don't hurt nobody tonight. Gonna do you. Let me do you.
Man, I told y'all this is the blackest show out here. All right, y'all, that is it for us. Again, let me thank the panel. I appreciate them being on today's show. Let me thank all of you as well for being with us. Don't forget, join the Bring the Funk fan club. See your check and money order. P.O. Box 57196, Washington, D.C. 20037-0196. PayPal, R. Martin Unfiltered. Venmo is RM Unfiltered. Zelle, Roland at RolandSMartin.com, Roland at RolandMartinUnfiltered.com. And again, our RM Unfiltered Cash App has some issues. Hopefully, it will be fixed by tomorrow. A lot of y'all have been trying to give, and so we will send y'all the notices. But do me a favor, use this Cash App, $ Uncle Roro Martin. That's the backup one. Again, you can scan the QR code, just point your camera to the screen, and then it'll take you right to the Cash App. Or type in $ Uncle Roro Martin, UNCLEROROMARTIN. Folks, that is it. I will see y'all. Say it again. Carol, what? Oh, yeah. So Tuesday, September 10th, we are going to be live right here beginning at 7 p.m. We're going to be going 7 p.m. to 1 a.m., y'all. It's going to be fire. In addition, we're going to have to change the graphic, y'all, because not only are we having our coverage of the debate, we're also hosting a watch party with the Congressional Black Caucus. And so our studio is going to be buzzing Tuesday night. I'm telling y'all, it's going to be the blackest coverage you will find. We're going to have Congressional Black Caucus members here. We're going to have our panelists here. We're going to have a bartender. We're going to have some food. It's going to be a straight up black house party on Tuesday. I cannot wait for y'all to check it out. Y'all don't need to watch nobody else. I'm telling y'all, CNN, MSNBC, Fox News, ABC, NBC, CBS combined are not going to have as many black voices as we going to have on Tuesday night. And so, y'all, September 10th, let's blow the numbers out. I want 30, 40, 50,000, 100,000 live views come Tuesday night, y'all. I'm telling you, it's going to be lit. So prepare yourself for the blackest presidential debate show coverage anywhere. All right, folks, I'll see y'all on Monday. We always end Fridays by showing you all of our donors. More than 30,000 people have contributed to our show since day one. We want to thank all of them. I'll see y'all Monday. Holla!